Only in the marketing world, everyone was talking about this news that Poonam Pandey died because of cervical cancer. HDFC Bank campaign with Nora Fatehi into the picture. So that was influenced from deepfake AI. Dhanda is purely focused on financial aspect, and they 90% they ignore the brand value of it.
जब मैं स्कूल में थी तो आई स्टिल रिमेंबर देयर वर अ कपल ऑफ थिंग्स जो मैं हमेशा करती थी. वन वाज माय पेरेंट्स हैड एनकरेज मी टू डिबेट एंड स्पीक एंड एवरीथिंग. ऑब्वियसली अभी के कैमरास बहुत अच्छे हैं. मेंटोस का ऐड आता था कि मेंटोस क्यों खाया. वी वर शूटिंग विद कमल हसन वंस एंड ही सेड दिस लाइन which I buy. He said that, you know, stories have been written over and over again and it's the same story which is being told across ages and centuries. If you really want to, if you've watched a lot of movies or any kind of good content, then you will realize that you don't really need language beyond a point. You can understand a lot of content.
Agree.
If you actually want to focus on women's health, that's not the way to do it. You will have to do a campaign which is regular, longer and better. Today, that founder is making reels on Instagram.
नमस्कार हिंदुस्तानियों, आप सबका स्वागत है द ह्यूमंस ऑफ हिंदुस्तान के पॉडकास्ट शो द हिंदुस्तान चैप्टर्स में. और आज हमारे साथ जो गेस्ट मौजूद हैं उनका नाम है प्रणिका. विद ओवर अ डेकेड ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस इन हर किटी एंड अ नैक फॉर क्रिएटिव स्टोरी टेलिंग दैट सेल्स, Pranika's journey into the marketing world has been nothing short of a creative roller coaster ride. Welcome Pranika, welcome to the Humans of Hindustan podcast show, the Hindustan chapters. So Pranika, tell me about yourself, not as a marketing consultant that you are, or not as a budding entrepreneur, but I would really like to know the Pranika behind the so-called marketing maverick that you are trying to push into the world of marketing, a name, a space for yourself. So how was your really upbringing, as in your childhood, and how did you find ways to get yourself entertained through all the marketing gimmicks that were there while you were growing up? And just want to know Pranika कैसी थी बचपन में, and then what really pushed her into the world of marketing while growing up?
That's a very good question, Prashant. And as you know, I was born and brought up in Delhi. I'm a Delhi girl at heart. And बचपन में आप जो चीज़ें कर रहे होते हो उस टाइम पे आपको नहीं समझ आता है. When you're an adult and you've done something with your life and your career, then you can go back and join the dots. That I was doing these kind of things. So which is why I love the question, because जब मैं स्कूल में थी तो आई स्टिल रिमेंबर देयर वर अ कपल ऑफ थिंग्स जो मैं हमेशा करती थी. वन वाज माय पेरेंट्स हैड एनकरेज मी टू डिबेट एंड स्पीक एंड एवरीथिंग. सो व्हेनेवर वी वुड गो, वी आर स्टेइंग एट अ होटल या फिर हम ट्रेन जर्नी कर रहे हैं, कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, सो आई वुड ऑलवेज लीव अ रिव्यू एंड आई वुड क्रिटिक प्लेसेस if I did not like something. So I was very outspoken since I was a kid. Then another thing that I did was I used to always participate in filmmaking competitions and ads. I would constantly shoot ads. Obviously अभी के कैमरास बहुत अच्छे हैं, उस टाइम पे इतने अच्छे नहीं होते थे. I was gifted a digital camera, like a very basic one by Nikon. And उस पर मैंने I don't know आपको वो ad याद है कि नहीं, मेंटोस का ad आता था कि मेंटोस क्यों खाया. It was a very quirky ad, the cred ad of that time technically. Correct. OG. So I used to shoot versions of that using footage that I would randomly record in my own house, like with my mother, and like quirky ads. And at that point there was no social media also, so I wasn't posting it anywhere, but I would always do things like that. And I was a poet when I was a kid. When I was a baby, I used to write poetry. So I think all of that, now when I look back, I think that still stayed with me, which is what I'm still doing in my line of work. Obviously I'm not a poet, but how you communicate, storytelling is a line that I would like connect everything together, and storytelling is at the heart of what I do till date and what I love. तो definitely बचपन में आप जो भी करते हो उससे पता चलता है. Like this, you know, when money is not the end goal, जब आप पैसे के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं कुछ, आपको genuinely कोई चीज़ पसंद है तो वो आप उसमें कुछ भी करेंगे तो आप अच्छा ही करेंगे आगे.
I cannot completely disagree with that, but yes, it's a nice point to begin with. As we were discussing about your childhood and you know what all things used to excite you, incite you in your childhood that pushed you into the world of marketing. So while growing up, you know, tell us something if any particular incident that really caught your attention while growing up and it made you think कि नहीं यार, do hell with the conventional jobs and this is the field that I really want to be in. So is there any specific incident that you faced while growing up?
There was no specific incident. I think
You mentioned one Mentos ad.
Oh yeah.
At that.
I was going to tell you, ads were there. Obviously, I used to couple of things again. Like बहुत सारे ऐसे छोटे छोटे, like I said, when you look back, you realize that maybe those things happened. So मैं घर की छोटी बेटी हूँ और घर के छोटे बच्चों को ज़्यादा freedom मिलता है, वो fact है.
Agree.
So I got it in a good way. Like I remember मेरी बहन के TV viewing hours and all were very monitored or limited, something like that. By the time I think I came into the picture, my parents were a little more lax. And I still remember on Doordarshan at that point, Friends Cinema used to air late night. And I was watching Friends Cinema, some of the best international movies I had seen as a kid. Because I would not sleep, I was insomniac and I was consuming all that content, which I'm so glad because I did not have cable. But I was watching world-class cinema for free at my home at night because I had that freedom. And secondly, like I said about the ads, just I think I was consuming more content and good content. And we also got internet before a lot of my family members. Like I knew how to look for what I was looking for on the internet. So that was also a very good feeling because you were suddenly seeing. I still remember I watched Matrix. मैंने डाउनलोड करके, क्योंकि इंग्लिश में मिल नहीं रही थी एंड टॉरेंट नहीं होता था तब, तो आप बहुत ऐसे ढूंढ के कहीं से लिंक से विल फाइंड इट. तो मैंने जर्मन में देखी थी मैट्रिक्स. वाओ. And I understood it. So one of my relatives,
without subtitles?
Yeah, and I still like, because I was so obsessed, and I watched a lot of international cinema when it was not available in subtitles or dubbed. Correct. And I would watch it again and again till I got it. And beyond a point, we are so obsessed with, reading subtitles and all. But I think human emotion and stories internationally, throughout the ages. I still remember we were shooting with Kamal Hassan once, and he said this line, which I buy. He said that, stories have been written over and over again, and it's the same story, which is being told across ages and centuries. Correct. Just the format, the beginning, middle, end, or the way it is being said or the technology is changing, but the story never changes, it remains the same. So I think that is true. And if you really want to, if you've watched a lot of movies or any kind of good content, then you will realize that you don't really need language beyond a point. You can understand a lot of content.
Agree. Movies, music, they don't communicate with any particular language. They have no boundaries at all. So couldn't agree with you more on this. But then you just mentioned the example of Matrix. So Matrix se pehle there used to be a movie, Titanic. Titanic मेरी पहली मूवी थी. And I watched it in theaters. I was hardly 5 years old, I guess. 4 years old. All I could remember at that point in time are the visuals. I really didn't understand Hindi properly at that point in time, so forget about English. But then yes, I still remember the visuals to date. And मुझे पूरी movie समझ में आई थी. By the way, a 4-year-old kid can understand a movie, a 5-year-old kid can understand a movie, irrespective of the language. So that is the power of cinema. That is the power of storytelling that is there. So I'm just talking about this because you are in the field of storytelling, be it any narrative, be it talking about brands, talking about marketing, talking about promotions, talking about ads. Storytelling always find itself at the heart of it.
Yes.
So I am really intrigued with this concept of storytelling. Like you mentioned कि you were shooting with Kamal Hassan.
Yes.
तो Kamal Hassan ने बताया कि storytelling always remains at the heart of all the narratives. So what do you think in today's modern era, how the narratives have shifted in terms of storytelling, how the narratives have shifted with the changing times in the world of marketing?
One thing that top of the head when you were asking me this question is कि attention span बहुत छोटा होता जा रहा है and
were you paying attention to whatever I was just talking about?
yes why would you say that?
Because attention span छोटा हो जाता है.
Oh नहीं, I'm a millennial so I'm old.
Okay.
I'm no longer young.
Millennials are the most affected generation, by the way.
Yes, because they're in the middle
I know.
of both the old and the young.
Correct. So they पिस रहे हैं बस.
हाँ.
Yeah.
So so I, as a millennial, as a fellow millennial, you will understand that when we started looking at reels, that's okay.
Apologies. Okay. Yeah.
When we started looking at reels, we were like, how shorter can content be? This is already too short, 15 to 30 seconds. And you must have seen memes about, content being even shorter. That will be one word.
Correct.
That's actually the reality. Like Gen Z is also old now. If you look at Gen Alpha or the people who are coming ahead, attention span will get shorter. There's no denying that. And people who used to say that, 1 minute is short form, then came 30 second, then came 15. Now we're used to 15-second ads, we're used to 6-second ads. So it will get shorter. Having said that, at the heart, at the core of marketing, what is the agenda? It is to sell a product or to create awareness about a product. At the end of the day, that's why a business is running. वो चेंज नहीं होगा, उसका फॉर्मेट चेंज हो सकता है, जो कि हो ही रहा है. एंड विद AI also, because you've been following my work for some time, and I was also speaking for Microsoft AI for the whole of last year. I was working with them. So I am pro AI completely. I'm not one of those creatives or creative people who will be like, no, it's touching art. I did not participate in the Ghibli trend for ethical reasons. But I do not believe that. I always say that, treat AI like an intern, not the creative director. So the heart and soul of marketing won't change. That will still stay. The scope of work won't change. It will still stay. What will change is how it's happening, how many formats, and I feel that work is going to increase. That dream, that utopian dream जो हमें बेचा जाता है कि टेक्नोलॉजी आएगी और जॉब्स चली जाएंगी, या टेक्नोलॉजी आएगी और हम हाथ पे हाथ रख के बैठे हुए और टेक्नोलॉजी सारा काम करिए, वो आप कोई भी पुरानी मूवी उठा के देख लो, वो हमारे फोरफादर्स के ज़माने से वो झूठ बेचा जा रहा है. वो नहीं होता है. दैट नेवर हैपन्स. यू एंड आई आर वर्किंग वे मोर देन आवर पेरेंट्स, ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, बिकॉज technology enables us, yes, but you are put through a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility. Like in the same amount of time, you will be expected to do 20 people's job.
Correct.
That's the harsh truth. So that is what will happen. Coming back to marketing will also get impacted the same way. Right now it's very simple. Like if you look at Google SEO, just one example, that is also going to massively change. And not even in 5 years, in the next 1 year, we'll see massive changes in how product discovery is happening. It's happening as we speak. So lots of changes, but at the heart and soul, same thing. And differentiators will also be the same. AI will equip you to make content faster, make a lot of mass. But things that will work, people who will do research, in-depth research, and they know exactly what they're doing. With 4 content pieces, they'll be doing the job way better than somebody who's creating hundreds and thousands of content pieces with no agenda, no goal, no research properly done, no touch points properly researched. You're getting it. So there'll be a lot of content that will be produced, yes, but how much of it will actually convert will set the game and set the bar for the others to follow.
Okay, cool. Pranika, now share about your journey, since you wore different hats throughout your professional journey, from being a marketer to being an ad professional to being an entrepreneur. So how challenging was your journey in different roles that you have played all throughout your professional career till now?
I've actually pivoted thrice in my career, maybe more. So I've had quite an unconventional and interesting journey, and I'm very happy with the choices. At the start of my career, which is when we interacted for the first time, I used to make content. So I worked in both short format and long format. I have directed ads, I have shot for ads and done 0 budget shoots also. So that is something that I did. After that, when I pivoted and I started working with broadcasters, so I worked in the news industry as well, but I was not a journalist. I used to do branded content. So brands were constantly there throughout my career journey. And after working with 2 of the biggest networks, news networks in India today, I pivoted again and I started working with brands directly. So I worked with Nike, Byju's, some of the biggest names that are there. I also worked with Medfin. There I was working on the other side of the table where I had more control of the budgets and spends of what we'll be doing, the kind of video shoots that are happening. So everything that I learned in the beginning of my career was coming to use in my later roles. And I think after that, when I launched Shy Shark, is when I pivoted the last and final time, I think, because I want to grow Shy Shark properly, and I'm here for the long game.
Okay.
This is not a mini stint because it's something that I'm doing from scratch myself, and everything that I've learned, all the hats are coming together because as an entrepreneur, you'll relate and understand that you play a lot of roles, especially in the beginning. So you need to know everything a little.
Correct.
And do it hands-on so that you know how much time, effort, energy, and money should go where.
Correct.
So I think I enjoy my journey, and it's the perfect culmination point.
So what really propelled you into laying the foundation of Shy Shark?
It's an interesting story. So like I said, I was working, I used to speak for Microsoft for the AI sessions that they organize, and in one of them they wanted to put my designation, and I had quit my job, like I wasn't really employed at that point. So they were using my earlier designation, and then I had to tell them that I have quit and you can't go ahead with this. And then it just came to me, I was ideating with my mentor about the brand name, and this was there in my head when I taken my Bali vacation, which was very long. So I had kind of thought about it, but I had not announced it to anybody. Apart from my mentor, I did not speak to anybody about this. But that was the perfect opportunity. I said that just put Shy Shark under it. And then the posters came out with that name, and then people were asking me. So I updated it on LinkedIn. So it was more like it was unplanned announcement. And then I told everybody that, yeah, I'm building this. The website came much later. Actual work started much later, but I think the announcement, because it came naturally. So that happened. And like I was saying, we have reverse engineered everything, every vertical, every test that we're doing. We have something called Shy Shark Lab, in which we are doing a lot of experimentation. Right now also I would not be able to tell you which one will exactly scale and which one will I'll put my money in, because it's bootstrap. Because it's completely changing. Every quarter we have new learnings, and we are trying to implement them and learn from them, and narrowing down our options so that we know where our energies and our money should go.
So I understood whatever most of the parts that you told me about Shy Shark, but what I really want to understand is what Shy Shark is all about, basically. I mean, is it a marketing agency, or is it a brand sort of a company? What is it exactly about?
Thank you for that question, because I get that very often. And a lot of times, anytime we are testing out a new product or launching something new, people ask me that, weren't you doing this? So that bit has been there, and like I said, we are a very small startup. We've just started, pretty young. We've pivoted also once, and I'll briefly talk about that. But in short, we have two parts of our business, and one part is agency, where we work with founders, with startups, with anybody who wants not just consultancy or advisory, any kind of advice when it comes to content, branded content or marketing. So we do strategy and marketing both, in which everything is combined. We do customized work for each of the brands. So what we may be working with one brand may not be the same thing that we are doing for the other brand.
Okay.
It depends on the scope of services, the requirement that the brand or the business has. Also, we are platform agnostic, so we are not getting paid by Facebook or Meta or Google, right? So we'll tell you what's the lowest hanging fruit, what's the most MVP variant that will work for your business. That is what we do. The other part of our business is coaching, in which what we are doing is, we give you do-it-yourself kits, or we'll help solopreneurs or people who have lesser budgets, lesser teams, maybe they're one man running the show. So we are equipping them with the marketing knowledge. So we have sessions, we have cohorts also, cohort-based learning. We also have sessions which is one-on-one training, in which we not just educate them, but we tell them also where the levers are for every marketing vertical, like basic SEO, basic social media, all of that, so that they can either hire somebody and outsource that bit if they have the budgets and the energy, or they can do it in-house on their own once they know what needs to be done. So think of it like a smaller thing in a lesser budget for people who are running an SME or a solopreneur show, or even a creator who wants to grow their brand or business.
So basically, you are providing consultancy services?
Yes.
I mean, if correct me if I'm wrong. So it's sort of a 360-degree marketing consulting firm that you are running under Shaishark? Or,
Yes.
Or do you provide services as well, marketing services as well to your clients?
If you're talking about performance marketing and website development, those two things we don't do. We
Okay.
don't even do SEO. We'll give you recommendation. We may hire somebody. So we have a lot of partners that we collaborate with. We have a long list of resources and people that we work regularly with. So we do that, and if a client is specifically asking for some requirement like that, we'll obviously outsource it to someone or get somebody on board, whatever makes the client comfortable. I'll also tell you one thing, this conventional way of thinking about agencies in India is going to change slowly. It's already happening outside. In India, it's coming in a little later, but it will, and with the advent of AI, it will become even more easier and feasible. Because I'll tell you, traditionally, agencies, not just in India, even internationally, what would happen is, the end goal is for a business to make sales and get profits, right? Now what happens is when you outsource it, it gets broken down into multiple pieces. Performance is going somewhere else, something is going somewhere else. Now again with startups, there'll be two kinds of startups. One will be very evolved startup with VC money and all, and some will be bootstrapped or smaller startups also. Everybody's end goal is again sales only, or some kind of brand awareness, which is again converting to sales. So for smaller solopreneurs or smaller brands, what happens is a lot of them don't have understanding of marketing. That is where we come in. So we are not going to, because if you speak to any entrepreneur or founder, especially smaller scale founder, even in your circle, I'm sure you must have heard stories that they've had a bad experience with a marketing agency, or they've had a bad experience with some agency, and then they're scared to invest monies and efforts, and they don't know because they all sound the same.
Correct.
So what we do is, we firstly we do an in-depth study about what their business problems are, because mostly marketing cannot exist as a silo separately. It has to be, there has to be outcomes, obviously. So we are outcome obsessed, but we are also strategy obsessed. So we are a strategy first studio.
Okay.
We are slowly, like I said, we've reverse engineered everything. We realized that we also want to have more skin in the game, not just as a partner or collaborator. Somebody who is there with you as a co-founder. You can think of us like your extended arm for marketing. What we're trying to do is, the reason the recent pivot is happening, and it's more like a pivot, it's we are increasing our scope of work and our responsibilities. So we've realized that there's a very big gap and an opportunity also at that, which I think Shaishark will fill. And with the way marketing is also expanding, we were speaking about how AI is changing things, how the newer generation is consuming content. So keeping all of that in mind, there'll be more requirements of people like us, people who are filling that gap instead of traditional agencies, because they already exist. Creating more of the same is going to just create competition instead of filling a gap which is not being addressed even today. Maybe it won't get filled with us also, but it has to be in a newer form. It won't be the old way. So that is what we are trying to do, and hope it works out the way we've imagined. We are anyways going to be at it. So just onwards and upwards from there for us, I think.
Cool. I hope so. But Pranika, help me understand.
Yes.
You mentioned that people have had horrific experiences with marketing agencies. But let's take an example of an upcoming brand. Let's take an example of someone who is just starting out in the world of entrepreneurship, and then regardless of the gender, she or he, that person might be, their main concern would be sales, definitely. But then brand visibility is another factor that any not only upcoming brand but also established brand wants to focus on. So जब भी मार्केटिंग का क्वेश्चन खड़ा होता है, तो जितने भी ब्रांड्स हैं, जितने भी स्टार्टअप्स हैं, अपकमिंग स्टार्टअप्स हैं, बर्जनिंग स्टार्टअप्स हैं, ये इनके दिमाग में एक ही सवाल आता है या एक ही स्टेप आता है कि लेट्स हायर अ मार्केटिंग एजेंसी, और लेट्स हायर अ बुटीक एजेंसी, और लेट्स हायर अ मार्केटिंग प्रोफेशनल to carry out our marketing initiatives. So how your firm, how Shaishark find its place in this current scenario that is there. When I say the current scenario, I mean with n number of marketing agencies that are there, especially in big cities, metro cities. So how Shark is competing with all those marketing agencies and how it is carving its own space in this marketing dynamics.
So there are two things that set us apart. One is clarity. You've heard me talk, you've seen my reels, and otherwise also we believe strictly, because I do a lot of speaking sessions one-on-one also, and that knowledge should be transparent. We don't believe in hoarding knowledge that, oh, I'm a marketer and if I share something with another person, usually most agencies function like that. And there are reasons. I understand why traditional agencies would behave and function like that, because for them they're only looking at one piece of the pie. Like an advertising agency is only looking at advertising, creating that advertising, and while they may put in their decks that our ad got so many views, there's a whole arm, a wing of people in marketing and strategy who are behind it, and it feels very disconnected. So even with startups, what we do is, like I said, we customize plans for each of our brands or clients. We will look at the business problems and what is the end goal, and then suggest. So there are different kinds of suggestions. We have helped people hire people for their team, for their marketing team. For some clients where it makes sense, we have told them strictly do not outsource your marketing. You need to build a team in-house depending on the kind of product they're selling. For example, if it's a fashion brand or a makeup brand, they will have to, what's fashionable today will not be fashionable tomorrow. So they will be churning a lot of content. So it's always more cost effective if you have a team in-house to do it, and there's lesser turnaround time and gaps, everything reduces, makes more sense. Whereas if I have to talk to a SaaS based business or some other business where product is not changing that dynamically over time, then we can recommend that cost wise it will be more effective if you outsource it. Now even in that, those kind of advice or strategy, either I'm talking about smaller scale brands, I'm not talking about Nyka's and Byju's, they already have a lot of money and teams to do all this work. When you're just starting out, you have a lot of questions as an entrepreneur as to when you should do X, Y or Z. Like when should you start spending branding money, when should you start running your ads, when should you start doing an on-ground event, are there going to be any kinds of returns if you do influencer marketing for your business, is it even worth a shot? At that point you will not get the kind of answers you're looking for from an intern or from a mid-level person. You will need somebody who's worked in the industry for 10 years and done the job. That kind of person, and who's worked across industries, so that they have a wide variety of insights, knowledge, and they're up to date with the latest trends. They can tell you exactly what needs to be done and doesn't. Now somebody with that kind of experience will also come at a price point, and as a new startup you cannot afford somebody like that full time on your team, and I don't think you should. So you hire a consultant, but with a consultant the problem is again that you don't get a team. So think of us like a strategy advisory friend of yours who has a team to support you in whatever you want to build out. So we'll get you the team, we'll get you everything that you need, work backwards from that. And I'll be very honest also, the problem that we are facing, because we are a little unconventional than a typical agency. What happens is people sometimes feel that you do not have a 24/7 team, people on your payroll. So people will chicken out, or people will think that maybe they won't be able to deliver. Being very honest, that is a problem we have faced. What founders also will understand, I think eventually, and we are still getting clients, it's not like we are not getting clients, is that if I do not have full-time employees, I am also reducing cost for the brand. If I have full-time employees, that money gets out of my clients' money only. So the reason remote work has become a very big thing, with AI also, correct, a lot of work that happens is getting very diversified. You don't really need to be at one particular job 24/7. Why do you want to pay that much amount of money? So it is not about me running a lean model because I want to, but it's more frugal for the business also. The brand is paying less for the same work. Okay. So, and that is how we've people that are working with us, people that have worked with us in the past, have actually benefited, which is why it is still working. And we feel that the future of work and the future of not just marketing, for a lot of other industries also, this will get impacted. Okay. In fact, I think you saw the DigiScoop article also. I'd spoken about how in the coming and Bangalore again, speaking from experience living there, there'll be startups which will be built out of rooms like this, and you'll be running $1 million companies sitting on a sofa. So if that is happening, agencies need to evolve and they need to be at pace. It is not a drawback if somebody doesn't have full-time employees. It is not a drawback if they do not have a traditional structure, because that also creates a lot of delays. That is not getting you the kind of output you want.
Correct.
So as a business owner, selfishly think about what you want. Do you want a conventional deck? Do you want a conventional pretty picture agency, or you want somebody who gets the job done?
Correct. So let me take an example. Let's say I'm starting out a shoe company, and so for me, I figured out where I'll be placed in the market. I've done all my research and everything, but now I'm struggling with how to create a brand out of it, or I'm struggling to reach my correct set of audience. I really don't know which is my audience, which set should I target to. Though I have a clue that okay, such type of shoes will attract such type of audience, but then I am not someone who is a professional at that. So I want someone who can help me. So I just want to understand your perspective in terms of your initiative, which is Shy Shark. How Shy Shark will come into the picture and help guide someone who wants to establish her or his shoe brand into the market, who wants to create a sort of a brand visibility, eventually driving up to the bottom of the funnel and driving sales. Eventually that is the target, that is the objective of every brand. But then how will you assess it? Since you told me that you don't have a basic conventional structure, so how will you assist that person or brand with your forte, with whatever team that you have, with whatever skill sets that you have within Shy Shark?
So I'll tell you what we do in the very beginning. We get to the root and we ask very basic questions. Like when you were explaining this example as a case study also, my first question would have been, why are we only looking at shoes? Is there history behind it? Like, have you guys done any research? Is it just gut? Can be anything. And it's not like we are debating with the founder. With a lot of clients, because I come from branding, sometimes I don't like the name of the brand also. I've had issues with packaging. I'm telling you that kind of very basic stuff. I've had differences and we are vocal about it, but we also believe that the founder knows what they're doing also. Except like very few people, most people are very sorted about what they're doing, who they're building for, and they have very solid reasoning also for it. It is important for us to understand that, because what happens is, otherwise if you don't get to the root and you don't really understand why they're building what they're building, there are lots of legacy business also. Like we had somebody who told us that we are a branding agency, and they were like, we do not want sales हमको आ जाती है, वो हम बहुत सालों से कर रहे हैं. We want a good social media presence and we just want to look like a new age brand because it's very outdated. So there are all kinds of clients. So you need to understand first. So we do our homework. We ask all dumb questions, everything. We've had brands who've been running for 5 years, 10 years, not spending money or doing SEO, not making this. And they're doing good business. It's not even like they're not making money, the profitable companies. Something as basic as SEO has been overlooked.
Okay.
So those kind of questions, like I'm sure they have teams, they have people who they're working with, but those kind of things get missed out, because what also happens is when you're working in the same environment, talking to the same people, which is why a lot of times the expertise from outside is called, because I won't call it an echo chamber, but what happens is everybody starts thinking the same way, which is why you need people from outside and outside perspective. So that sometimes something very obvious is getting missed out. So asking dumb questions would be the first step, which would set us apart. Secondly, what we do is also think of unconventional and MVP variants of what you would do. What we have done, this is also something that a lot of bigger brands do, but I think a lot of smaller brands or SMEs don't, because again, understanding of marketing is very less. They will spend, and by the way, in Bangalore, I've seen this a lot, because every other person is a product manager or a developer there, and everybody is building something. which is very good. But what happens is sometimes they'll spend months, years building. In my own friend circle, I've seen it. A product which either there's no demand for, even if they thought, they did all kinds of research, and I'm talking about IIT, IIM graduates and all, I'm not talking about, so they know their numbers are on point. But I have told people that instead of spending that much time, energy, efforts, do some basic research, run one ad, very cheap ad, just see how many signups you get, make a website, like a very basic looking website, just see if there is actual, going by gut and going by numbers is good, but always do a qualitative analysis also of that data, which I keep telling. Coming to the third point, because I just mentioned qualitative and quantitative, even with performance marketing, what gets missed out, even with bigger brands, this is something that you'll see across, like bigger, smaller, both, all sizes, is people will focus only on the quantities and numbers, which is good, but again, like I said, emotion is a very big player. Creatives are a very big player in even performance marketing or marketing of any kind, which is like I've seen people do A/B testing with we've changed the color, we've changed the, it doesn't matter. That's not an A/B test first of all to begin with properly, because it impacts. I'm not saying it doesn't, but the creative that you're making in totality and the experience for the customer in the customer journey is what converts a customer. It's not like आज मैंने कैडबरी का ad देखा तो मैंने कैडबरी खरीदा, नहीं, मैंने उनका होर्डिंग देखा है एयरपोर्ट में, मैंने मेरे पेरेंट्स के ग्रुप पे मैसेज देखा. A lot of those touch points happen, and that is a very big problem. So performance marketing will get you till a point. After that you will have to, because you know, beyond a point with performance marketing, what happens is it's a law of diminishing returns. आप 10 रुपए का, I'm just hypothetically taking an example, if you put 100 rupees you are getting like 200 back or whatever. It'll be a set metric. If you want to scale, you want to become a national brand, or you want to become bigger global brand, you will have to do brand marketing. There are no two ways about it. And to decide when that stage has come and how much you should spend and how should you spend, because there are no direct relations. Like I said, no, it's a lot of small touch points. That takes gut and gumption of the founder that no agency can give you. But you need to have people that you can trust, who can tell you that do this, do that, do smaller experiments. And like I said, skin in the game agencies need to be there, which are not there. You cannot have an agency. Also, as an agency owner, I'm saying that you make an ad and go away and don't really care about the output. It's better. It's like there should be a little bit of ownership from both ends, so that.
So what I really got from this, Pranika, is you are guiding the startups or the brand, but what if, you know, let me give you an example. There are a number of instances where, you know, I interact with a certain brand, or I interact with a certain person who wants to build a personal brand per se. Then, you know, she or he has their own sets of notions regarding their brand or their own personal brand. Irrespective of the advice, irrespective of the strategy that we suggest them, their end question will always be, how is it going to be implemented? So in order to get that thing going up and running, we have to have, I'm talking in terms of brand visibility and brand awareness, and obviously later on performance marketing and sales. So how do you really provide those services to them, or do you connect them with the service providers? How do you go about it?
I'll answer this in two parts, because the first half is more about what we stand for and what we think, and the second is team structure. So for the first part,
so let's say a brand is just starting out on their own, bootstrapped completely. They don't have enough funds to set up a team, and they just want their brand to go out there in the digital realm, whether through social media or anything. So how would you advise them, or how would you make sure that it's up and running, let's say in the coming week?
We have a lot of playbooks that we've created, because we've been doing this with a lot of people, which is what I was telling you, that we keep experimenting and we keep, Shark Bite also came out of that, by the way, because there were a lot of people who just wanted hand-holding and guiding on consultation calls. So that is where it was born from. What happens is we always tell brands that want to go big on digital and they've just launched and they're very scrappy. Scrappy does not mean bad quality. Scrappy means an MVP variant, like a minimal viable variant. You don't have to have a full-fledged website. You do not have to have a social media agency also. Like one thing that we've tested and has worked very good for, obviously if you're an introvert, it will be a little difficult, but using the founder as the face of the brand. And I have a real case study also, maybe after the podcast I'll show you. So this is a founder, very introvert. Last year when we had worked with them, I used to tell them, because of the work that I've done in the past, that you should put your face out there, your face should be there, and they were very hesitant and all. Today that founder is making reels on Instagram because he's seen an uptick. People trust better. So if you show proof, I think people do go to the other side, and he's doing it. He started with one reel. Now I think on his handle there are at least 6-7, and maybe he'll do more.
Okay.
But when we started, he was very reluctant, and he was like, no, I'll do everything but this. I will not do this. And but it came to the point where organically now he's doing it, and he sees that people DM him more questions. People ask him about his product, and also trust building happens. So those kind of things, when we say scrappy, when we say MVP, those kind of things that they can do in-house and which have higher conversion. Again, what I'm saying today may change tomorrow. Social media is an ever-changing field. You make content, you know how overnight everything changes. So basis that, what I'm suggesting right now may work for a brand today, may not work tomorrow.
So Pranika, as a marketing professional yourself, who has been into this field for over a decade now, so what advice do you have for anyone, any marketing professional, any budding marketing professional that is aiming to carve her own or his own space in this realm? So what are the basic points that they should be looking at when entering into this field?
I think you need to be very inquisitive and trend aware. Because storytelling and all, everybody will tell you, which is a requirement. But I think just like becoming a fashion designer, you need to understand colors, patterns, all of that. In marketing, a lot of people do not talk about, like every MBA out there you'll see is just talking about storytelling, even if they don't know storytelling. Honestly, if you go through their profile, you'll understand that. But I think being trend aware is very, very important. I keep telling people, if they cannot brand themselves, they're not the right person for the job. This is not a job where you get to stay in a hole, in your shell, in your cave. Because if you're doing that, will you trust a person who's badly dressed to be a fashion designer? It's as simple as that. So be trend aware, be aware of what's happening, not happening. It's if it's social media, that's not even your forte, you should still know if you're in marketing. All verticals of marketing you need to take an interest in. Like I've met so many marketers who will be like, I do not do SEO, or I don't do that, but you still need to know the basics. I also feel like every marketing person should work like a founder, where you're wearing multiple hats and are aware of different areas of the business. Because like I said in the beginning, marketing cannot exist in a silo. Again, maybe I'm saying too much AI, but with AI this will also happen, that in the boardroom, CMOs had lesser say, being very honest. Like it was all CEOs, CXOs. Now, because outputs will be linked directly to marketing metrics or how much sales you're making, that will also increase. So with more power comes more responsibility. It's both ways. So exciting times to be in marketing. I genuinely feel that more and more people should come, and it's going to evolve drastically as we speak.
Cool.
Can I quickly answer the first one? I remember now what I was going to say. So for the
Okay, continue.
Yeah. You were asking what will be the most MVP version of somebody who's bootstrapping their brand and trying to create brand awareness. So what we do for entrepreneurs and founders as well, work on their personal branding, just LinkedIn, or even beyond LinkedIn if you're very active on Twitter. While I'll tell somebody to make reels, if they are uncomfortable, we don't force it, because if it doesn't come naturally and they are not comfortable, then that also shows. So you should always be true to yourself. If Twitter is more your thing, work on Twitter. If LinkedIn is more your thing, work on that. Whatever you authentically believe in. Also believing in your product helps a lot. Like if you genuinely, the product that you're making, like if you look at Moxie, the founder of Moxie, she has wavy hair and she's launched a wavy hair product range. I love their branding, by the way. Not paid, just saying because I love the product and the branding. But because she uses the product in her own hair and she has wavy hair, there's a relatability factor. So that does help organically.
Okay.
And one thing that I keep telling people, like in 2025 when marketing is not free, everything is paid. Like if somebody is selling you something as free, it basically means you will have to either spend your time or your resources. Then technically that's not free because you're taking out your time from something, right? So
Correct.
that time you could have made money. So nothing is free. In that era, I'm telling you that using your personal brand can be the biggest weapon in your kit. I urge every founder, every brand owner, every creator to work on it. It will give you returns. You'll start working today, but it will give you returns in so long and in such beautiful ways. It's worth the investment.
Since you started talking about personal branding, you mentioned 2 platforms, Twitter and LinkedIn. Why not any other platform?
The kind of people that I mostly work with, Instagram also I spoke about, but these are the major platforms right now that are active. YouTube I do not mention for a reason, because when you're just starting out, YouTube requires a more startup cost. More startup cost as in to start a YouTube channel and to make content, because shorts right now on YouTube are not being monetized. It's not working the way an Instagram reel works, right? You still have to make longer format content. And creating longer format content, like we're shooting a podcast right now, it needs some kind of investment in terms of efforts also, monies also, time, everything, studio setup. Whereas if you compare it to Twitter, which is almost zero, LinkedIn is zero, and Instagram, even if it's not zero, it can still be done in a pocket friendly way. So in terms of just monies, because we are talking about easier and pocket friendly ways for bootstrap startups, that is why these platforms. Otherwise, I'm sure YouTube is a beautiful platform. I love it because for long format educational content, the shelf life of the content is very high. Like if you do SEO properly and if the content is actually nice, people will watch it even 5 years later, unlike the other platforms. I'm aware of that, but because we are the context of the conversation, I mentioned those.
So what I understand from this is that, it's not just about, as per my understanding, it's not just about the particular platform.
Yes.
It's all about where your audience is. So let's say if someone is into medical field,
Definitely.
then probably her or his audience might not be on Twitter, might not be on LinkedIn, but might be on Facebook and Instagram
And YouTube.
and YouTube, obviously. So it all depends on your audience. It's just not the platform.
No.
It's not platform specific, as far as my understanding is
Like we
concerned.
said, marketing has to be platform agnostic, because if you're thinking backwards from a platform, why are you doing it? You're not getting paid. Unless until you're getting paid, then you stick to a platform. No platform is paying you. So be very selfish and focus on what you want to do and how many. Also another thing I know that wasn't a question. A lot of brands or entrepreneurs in the beginning will do is they'll be everywhere. I highly recommend, and it's like a drug. Even when I started Shy Shark, while I preach this to everybody, it was difficult to follow for myself. So I understand completely where that comes from. But within 3 months, I think you will realize that you cannot do all platforms. It takes a lot of energy and efforts, and especially if you're just starting up, don't do it. Don't spread yourself too thin.
Correct.
Pick one, or maximum I'll say 2, which is also near to impossible. If you're cross posting, maybe you can do it, but doing organic content, native content for even 2 platforms is very difficult. So I would suggest just 1 platform, maximum 2 platforms. If you're very small, if you have a bigger team, you can look at more platforms, but don't spread yourself thin. Platform choice also should be, like you rightly said, dependent on where your audience is, how much money you have, and how much longevity you want. Like for a medical or an insurance or a banking related content, a YouTube can make sense, because people will look for the same topics again. For a fashion, if you have more money then, but if you're starting out, Instagram. So it has to be tied to the nature of your business, what you're trying to do, what are your immediate objectives, and how much money and runway you have. That is also a discussion we have, frankly, with the founders. We've also had discussions where we've spoken if they want to exit a startup, those kind of conversations, because they help you plan your strategy better.
Okay. Since you talked about AI in marketing, so help me understand how AI is changing the way marketing used to be done a couple of years back, and how is it being perceived in modern era? So how the shift is prevalent in the world of marketing because of AI?
One very big shift which we briefly spoke about, and I'll explain again, is in terms of testing and experimentation. We do it day and night at Sharkbite and Shy Shark, but we also do it for our clients because we've been doing it every day. Now we understand it. In fact, now that I'm talking about it, maybe we'll learn something related to that too, which is earlier the turnaround time for doing a campaign or doing a product test or any kind of test was longer. Now, because you can create mock-ups faster, you can create landing pages, everything faster, the turnaround time has reduced. So if you get a journalist or somebody who has skills which go beyond being an operator, somebody who's smart, and those kind of skill sets and those kind of job roles will also go up. What AI will help you do is, for not just founders, I think for every vertical and every industry, except maybe medical field and those kind of very niche fields will take a little longer because there are protocols in place. But for other people, what will happen is the TAT will reduce significantly, and because you will have insights faster, then you can spend those energies and scaling only the right ones. So there's less wastage of money, there's more output, and you are only scaling what's actually working in those tests. So I think testing and experimentation will be huge, and I think it's for the betterment for everybody. We are not working on something for 6 months only to realize that, you know, we should have killed it, nipped it in the bud, and instead worked on something else. So that TAT will reduce, and that's something that excites me. And because we do this on a regular basis in our lab, it's a very exciting place to be in.
Okay, great to know. So I wanted to understand in terms of the marketing gimmicks that are there. When I talked about AI, so AI has lot many faces to it.
Yes.
In especially in terms of marketing. So when with the advent of AI, there has been so many talks around this ethical quotient that is there in the marketing. So when I talk about ethical quotient, let me cite an example. So a couple of years back, there was an HDFC Bank campaign with Nora Fatehi into the picture. So that was influenced from deepfake AI, which created a lot of virality at that point in time, and people started linking that particular ad with deepfake, and then there was a lot of controversy around Nora Fatehi. Nora Fatehi was giving interviews that it's a deepfake. Then later on, the news came out that it was actually a campaign created by HDFC in collaboration with Nora Fatehi to educate people around deepfake AIs that were prevalent at that point in time. उसी टाइम पे कुछ रश्मिका मंदाना का भी कुछ deepfake AI आया था वीडियो. So काफ़ी चल रहा था deepfake AI उस टाइम पे. And then I spoke about unethical marketing practices. तो उस टाइम पे पूनम पांडे का भी एक न्यूज़ आया था कि she died because of cervical cancer. And then later on, it was during the weekend that the news came on Friday.
I remember.
So Saturday, Sunday ko everyone in the marketing world, or not only in the marketing world, everyone was talking about this news that Poonam Pandey died because of cervical cancer. And then Monday morning ko news aati hai that it was all fake. वो एक awareness
करेक्ट
अवेयरनेस क्रिएट कर सर्वाइकल कैंसर के अराउंड एक अवेयरनेस क्रिएट कर रहे थे वो उस कैंपेन के थ्रू. दो इट वाज नॉट अ कैंपेन, बेसिकली अनएथिकल मार्केटिंग प्रैक्टिसेस के बारे में बात कर रहे थे, जिसमें हाउ इज इट शिफ्टिंग द मार्केटिंग डायनामिक्स दैट आर देयर इन टुडेज मार्केटिंग सिनेरियो. पूनम पांडे का एग्जांपल दिया था, एंड देन वी स्पोक अबाउट नोरा फतेही ऑल्सो. सो पहले विदाउट द इंटरवेंशन ऑफ एआई जो भी चीज़ें थी, जैसा मार्केटिंग एक ट्रेडिशनल वे में लोग अप्रोच करते थे, अब वो काफ़ी चेंज हो गया है. सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि उसने क्या जो एथिकल मार्केटिंग प्रैक्टिसेस थी उनको कहीं किसी हद तक शैटर किया है, एंड दे आर ट्राइंग टू जस्ट गेन वायरलिटी इन अ शॉर्ट अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम. उसके लिए दे आर टर्निंग टू अनएथिकल मार्केटिंग प्रैक्टिसेस. सो हाउ रेलिवेंट are those in modern day marketing dynamics?
So there's something that all of us suffer from, I think, knowingly or unknowingly. It's called the shiny object syndrome. And what happens is whenever something is trending, everybody just wants to jump on the bandwagon and use it somehow and force it into their system. I think these examples that you've spoken about are prime examples of using AI in campaigns where they were not needed in the way they were done. I personally don't believe in shock advertising. That's a personal call. Having said that, I also believe in something a little different, which will sound like I'm undercutting what I just said, but it is all kinds of marketing, good or bad, are good marketing. There's nothing called bad marketing, because if it's getting you eyeballs, if it's getting you news, like if everybody is talking about it, then
So
maybe
what you are
that was
trying to
the
propose,
intention.
unethical marketing is good marketing?
No, I'm saying for them it works. If they are okay, like as business owners or as the brand
But we
manager.
have to, as marketers, as people who are shaping the world of marketing, do we have to draw a line somewhere, or are we so greedy for views and virality that we just blur all the lines that are there of ethics and shady marketing? So, what I believe as a marketeer myself, that we have to draw a line somewhere where we can actually say that, okay, fine, this is a good intentional marketing and this is a bad intentional marketing. So the examples that we just discussed, they were absolutely about bad intentional marketing, which is unethical marketing. So I also agree with your point, Pranika, when you said any type of marketing is good marketing, even a bad marketing is a good. But bad marketing, does it? Do you really mean bad marketing in terms of unethical marketing?
No, I do not mean that. And like I said, just to repeat what I said again, that I do not believe in shock advertising. I don't propose it. I have never done it. I won't do it in the future also. But having said that, see, you gave two examples. The Nora Fateh one I'm not talking about, but the other one with Poonam Pandey. See, I got HPV shots. I am also like a educated, well-read woman who's independent. So I can, and HPV shots are expensive. Like I think I paid 8,000 for one shot. So they're expensive, and there was zero awareness. Even in my own friend circle, I'll tell you, there were so many people.
So to our audience who don't know about HPV, you can explain it a bit.
It's human pulmonary virus. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
It's basically for women above a certain age, and you need to get it done. Even I got it at a much later time, because even I, though I'm well educated and everything, there's very little awareness about our bodies in India, even till date, and especially women's health is something that's at the back burner. So I got it done, and I only told my parents also, and they were very happy that that this is happening. But awareness is next to zero.
Yeah.
I read a lot. I have a lot of doctor friends, which is I even was aware of this.
Correct.
Even in my friend circle, which is all like Delhi or metro city kids and well educated and all, a lot of them don't. After that thing went viral, people actually spoke about it. So while I wouldn't do it, it did do its job. People spoke about HPV. People spoke about, one of my best friends actually got a HPV shot after that incident. So in my own circle, I've
After
seen
which
that
incident? Poonam
Pandey's story, because people spoke about it, and then I think they were trying for a baby and there were issues and all, and they had the Poonam Pandey thing was happening at the same time. So then they got the shots done. So I've seen somebody getting impacted in a good way at the right time because of that. So then
I am not denying the fact that it might have helped a lot of people, as you just mentioned. But was that the right way to
of course
push
not.
people?
There are hundreds of better ways to do it.
Correct, yeah.
But maybe they were not given enough resources. They had very small timeline that they have to hit the target today.
Do you know the agency behind that campaign?
I know.
Shebang.
Yes.
So they literally had to cancel their agreement with Poonam Pandey, and then they had to issue a statement as well after that campaign and after that entire incident. So obviously they were also ashamed of the route that they took with generating awareness around cervical cancer. As you also said, there are a number of ways to generate awareness. For example, हम काफ़ी देखते हैं, पोलियो के एड्स देखते थे. अब तो हम एकदम पोलियो इरेडिकेट कर चुके हैं, as like the government like to say that. And plus स्मोकिंग के एड्स देखते हैं. कितने सारे ऐसे हम अवेयरनेस एड्स देखते हैं जो कि विच आर बीइंग डन इन अ राइट वे.
But Mukesh ads before the movie, everybody, nobody likes those.
But still, it's the right way. I mean,
is that the right way?
those are genuine people that they are showing in that video. I mean, पूनम पांडे का तो वो पूरा फेक इंसिडेंट था, उसको तो कैंसर भी नहीं था. अगर आप किसी ऐसे पर्सनालिटी को लेकर आते, डजेंट मैटर कि वो फेमस हो, इन्फ्लुएंसर हो, कोई नॉर्मल को भी ले आते, अब सर्वाइकल कैंसर से जो जूझ रहा है, जो सफ़र कर रहा है. So it would have made much more sense, morally it would have made much more sense rather than creating a virality around that subject by a fake news. I personally think that it shouldn't be encouraged. Moving on, though काफ़ी सारे लोगों ने उसके बाद.
That even I agree, because you know with virality another thing happens. Virality has a very low shelf life. We were talking about longevity of the content piece.
Yes.
And with polio and all, if you remember, there were year-long campaigns, annual
Correct.
campaigns. Only then at grassroots level, like in marketing we say, no, that say the same thing 100 times for people to remember. So with the Poonam Pandey also example, it was there fresh in mind only for a very short period of time. After that people forgot and moved on from there.
Correct.
If you actually want to focus on women's health, that's not the way to do it. You will have to do a campaign which is regular, longer and better, and not based on shock value, because shock value will only get you that much.
Correct.
So that I'm completely on board with, which is why I said that, you know, there are hundreds of multiple different ways, but since nobody is really focusing on women's health, I was appreciating that at least they did something. Obviously that something was really badly done,
I understand.
but you understand where I'm coming
I
from.
understand your point. No worries. So since we are talking about campaigns, so any yesteryear campaigns while you were growing up as a child, or a few years back also, so any campaign that you vividly remember now that has created an impact in your mind, that has motivated you, inspired you to come into the world of advertising and marketing?
Definitely, I think it's everybody's favorite, Fevicol. I loved those ads.
Yeah,
I can still
absolutely.
binge watch them.
Yes.
Like if you make a
All the day.
compilation, all of them are such classics.
Correct.
And I'm not surprised that it won a lot of awards, which I got to know later. And you know, there's something also I realized much later when I grew up and I started doing ads for a living and we were creating content. Indian ads are some of the best in the world. Like in terms of other content, maybe we are not making the best web series, maybe we are not making the best movies. I mean, we can agree to disagree, but when it comes to ad, India makes some of the best ads.
Correct.
From back then till today.
Correct.
And I think if we, like even today, we make like a compilation of the top 10 ads or whatever, Fevicol ads, more than one will feature in that list.
Correct.
They're that good.
Even Coca-Cola ads, I remember.
Yes.
With Amir Khan in the picture and the multiple number of ads that they used to do. So they coined one line, Thanda matlab Coca-Cola. So they just got to the nerves of the common Indian man, Thanda. I still remember a very fond incident of my childhood when my father used to say, Thanda piyoge? So with that, Thanda meant
like
Coca,
it's synonymous
thumbs up,
with that.
cold drink. Yeah. तो ठंडा मतलब होता था कोई भी कोल्ड ड्रिंक, कोई भी सोडा, बट उसको उन्होंने कैप्चर किया कोका कोला के साथ. So that's how creative advertising to me felt like the very first time. How I got drifted into the world of ads and marketing. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So now अभी हम थोड़ा जल्दी शुरू करेंगे. It is sort of a rapid fire sort of a thing, but it's not a rapid fire. You can take your time to answer. So if given a choice between a dhanda, a traditional marketing business, traditional business, any dhanda, and given a choice between a brand, what would you choose?
Brand.
And if I may ask the reason behind that?
Because I believe, when I heard the question first, that a traditional business already has legacy associated with it. It's already being done. So I would love to build something from scratch. And anything built on brand, like I said, that work on your personal brand or professional brand also, because the returns are way more. Like आपका धंधा बंद भी हो जाएगा, आपका brand रहेगा फिर भी, and you can make so much more out of that.
So speaking of that, dhanda, if I take the legacy quotient out of the dhanda, then what will be your take, dhanda or brand?
Brand.
Always the brand. Always. because what my understanding from this is धंधा actually क्या होता है कि sales लाओ,
हाँ
पैसा कमाओ, सेल्स लाओ, पैसा लेकर आओ. उनको ब्रांडिंग से, मार्केटिंग से कोई मतलब नहीं होता है. धंधा इज प्योरली फोकस्ड ऑन फाइनेंशियल एस्पेक्ट एंड दे 90% they ignore the brand value of it. There are many companies. I would not say startup because a startup nowadays is a very fancy word. So there are many companies who have just started and they just focus on earning money. So those are typically can be classified under dhanda companies. And if a startup is wants to take their brand to a certain level, so then they must opt for that brand route rather than the dhanda route, which I agree with you on, that why you are choosing dhanda over brand over dhanda.
Yeah.
Okay, this makes me go to the next question, which is pull marketing versus push marketing.
Pull, always.
And why is that?
Because if anybody, and this I don't believe in marketing, I believe that in life, if somebody is coming to you, you always have not just the upper hand, you already know they're interested. It's up to you if you can convert them or not, or keep them as a warm lead. You will always have more playing ground with them, and it converts better, just from experience saying that. And like I said, not just for marketing, if you're getting, because we work with college students also, if you're getting a job offer, when you're applying versus when you get an offer, or somebody approaches you, the kind of conversations you have changes the game. So pull always.
Okay, so since you chose pull, but most of the owners of the brand owners, they go for push marketing. For a layman or for a layman business owner who doesn't know much about marketing, how will you describe, how will you tell her or him the difference between the pull and push marketing?
Can I say something little different?
Yeah.
So usually when founders or business owners start, especially who do not have an understanding of marketing, they obviously lean towards push because guaranteed returns, they know this is happening, they can see it working. But give it some time, they themselves know that they want to go for pull marketing.
As you mentioned कि जो attention span है वो कम हो रहा है लोगों का with the changing times. So obviously brand owners का भी कम हो रहा है. तो when as marketers we say to them, give it some time. तो वो जो some time की जो timeline है, that is very dicey.
It is.
I mean, you cannot define that timeline. You cannot say in the next 3 months. You cannot say in the next 6 months. You can never say in the next year. I mean, तो वहाँ पे brand owners का जो है ना patience वो बोल जाता है. Maybe they will try you for a month, 2 months, 6 months, and then to make them stay with you in the longer run and to make them understand, you know, it will eventually come to you. Your audience will eventually come to you. You just have to invest your time, obviously your money as well. But then that is what is making pull marketing, a challenging game as compared to push marketing.
But that is also why some businesses scale and majority of them don't, because scaling comes only with brand. Scaling will not happen without brand.
How do you make it possible for the brand owners to understand this fact?
Brand owners, by that you mean business owners as well, right? So, like I said, a lot of them have their own learning also. I've had people, now friends, they were clients before, who've told me that we've done push and we've grown till X. Now we can't go beyond, and we realize the importance of pull marketing. So that happens. Every brand will go through that. If they don't, they'll plateau. And that also happens. A friend, just don't use this, but a friend of mine, they were running a jewelry brand and they sold their startup last year because they could not scale beyond a point and they had revenue metrics in mind which would have justified scaling it further or running it further. I think they shut it in 5 years time, which is a good enough span of time, but they couldn't scale beyond a point and then it wasn't making sense for anybody involved.
Okay.
So that also happens, and I'm not judging anybody for shutting their shop. It's okay if it's not happening, you can take that call. But usually why that doesn't happen, and there are lots, people will talk about good brand campaigns. Somebody should do a study. Actually, I'll go back home and check, maybe there is already one. How many brands have failed to scale because at the right time they did not take the leap of faith and plunge? There are millions of them. Because I was reading again, I won't name the founder because I know him personally. It's an edtech brand doing pretty well. I'm sure if I name you'll know. You know what his regret is, and big name, I'm not talking about some small player. He says, I should have put in the money into brand when I had the time. Today, even if I have that money and I invest, never gonna happen. Now the market is saturated, people have already done it.
Correct.
People took that leap of faith, which is exactly why push marketing is easy. वो तो आपको करना ही पड़ेगा ना, आप साबुन भी बेचोगे तो.
Correct.
But if you want to, it's a competition, right? It's a race against time. You will have to go on your gut.
So for someone who is just starting out, जो कि अपना business, sorry, not धंधा, अपना business अभी शुरू कर रहा है, obviously उनके पास इतना पैसा नहीं है. So how do you think as marketers we should convince them कि नहीं boss, you should go for pull marketing? Because when we talk about pull marketing ना, lot many portions come into the picture. We talk about campaigns to draw people, to lure them towards your brand or towards your business. So when we talk about campaigns, that translates to money infused play, money infused activities that you should perform in order to pull your audience. तो वो जो money का जो game है, वो जो अभी start कर रहे हैं काम, उनके लिए वैसे ही बहुत dicey रहता है. So how challenging is it for the marketers to convince them, no boss, अभी आप push मत करो, क्योंकि उनके लिए तो बहुत easy है push करके leads generate कर लेना. But अभी आप play the long game, आप push के लिए मत जाओ, pull के लिए जाओ. So how challenging is it for us? Because since the money question is in there.
See, it is challenging, and again I'll loop back to our earlier conversation because again it's interrelated. We were discussing about AI and all, and then I spoke briefly about how the role of CMO will improve or increase in importance because it will be directly tied to the outcome or output, which is what the founders usually need. The end of the day, they want to whatever is good for the business. So if that direct correlation can be seen anyhow, which still can be seen, but it's more difficult, like you're saying, no, it's not a direct output. You ran 100 rupee ad, you're getting this. That cannot be done in any kind of pull marketing. With AI, another thing that's happening is, like I remember going through your questionnaire, there was a question about ATL, TTL and BTL. That is also getting blurred. So while a WhatsApp message could be a part of BTL, if you actually read the copy and where it is leading you, given how the world is changing, it could very well be ATL. Just saying. You as a marketer would understand what I'm saying. So when the field is getting leveled, when the platforms and everything is becoming more and more clear and outputs will get linked and will be clear to the business owners as well, I think this selling it to them, I think they'll already know it. So it will make our jobs easier as well, because ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आप किसी से पैसा मांग रहे हो आप उसको आउटकम नहीं दे रहे हो. There are a couple of things I've said again and again in this podcast also, that skin in the game. If you show output, they will give you money, because it's as simple as that. Everybody is running a business, सबको धंधा चलाना है, उनको नहीं फर्क पड़ता है कि वो पुश से आ रहा है पुल से आ रहा है. If you show them output, I think people are happy. That's been my experience, and I understand that वो direct link नहीं हो रहा है अभी, वो भी हो जाएगा, and that will happen faster than later.
Okay, understood your point. So this brings me to my next question, which is how should or how do brands stay relevant in these changing times? What are those sacrosanct things that they have to have in place to stay relevant with the changing times? Because we have seen many brands being shut down with the changing times. So what are those things that made relevant, that made sense to certain brands, yesteryear brands which were there since the 70s, 80s and 90s, and they're still very much relevant till date? So what are those things you think as a brand owner or as a business owner that they need to keep those things in mind?
Keep evolving constantly. Even if you're the king of your game or your industry, there can be a new you which is budding, and if they make the right choices and if you keep sleeping, it's the rabbit and the hare, the hare and the tortoise story, that if you're happy and you think that you're leading the pace, even somebody is slower but who's consistent can go ahead of you.
Okay.
Tying it back, because today's topic was mostly about marketing and brand marketing, and we were talking about how brand is more long term and it will give you returns for far longer and help you build trust and credibility, which is something you cannot build via performance at all. वो हो ही नहीं सकता ना, आप कैसे करोगे ट्रस्ट बिल्ड? एंड टिल पीपल डोंट ट्रस्ट योर ब्रांड, पीपल वोंट बाय फ्रॉम यू. सो to stay relevant, you need to keep evolving. You need to build trust and credibility, which comes from brand building. So invest some kind of energy, efforts, time, whatever you call it, but invest there, because without that and doing that consistently, it's a very competitive world. You will be left behind. And so many, like you rightly said, this year only, Tupperware was shut, Kodak, so many companies, legacy brands that we were synonymous with their products that they were selling, have shut down. So if it can happen to the best, it can happen to anybody.
Okay, so again, this brings me to this question. When we talk about how to stay relevant in the modern times, so in order to stay relevant, you mentioned that a brand has to be ever evolving to match with the pace of the current scenario. So in considering the present dynamics that are there, so a brand should be more customer centric, or should have a more customer centric approach, or a more stakeholder centric approach?
I have very mixed feelings about this question, and I'll explain why. Because see, when you build a business, remember when you were saying that how does Shaishak work with brand owners and businesses, you need to understand why you're building a company. Are you building a company keeping exit in mind? There's a reason we ask those questions. So depending on that would be my answer. So for example, if you're building a brand where you have numbers in mind, you want to be the best in India and do whatever number of sales, then customer centric, I would say, because unless and until people are buying, you don't have actual revenue, you are not profit making, there's no business. But if you're planning, and there are founders who do that, and which is fair enough.
Very basic question, what is a brand?
I think it's you, who you are, and beyond that, if you're selling something, then what you do. Just these two questions.
I mean, a brand is just about the owner, or is it about their audience, or is it about their stakeholders, or is it about the sum total of all the perceptions?
Sum total of all perceptions, but I'll come back to what I initially said. Like for example, Prashant is HOH, because if you put that much time, energy and efforts, you do become synonymous with whatever you're building. It becomes a part of you. You become a part of that product or that community that you're building. So I think it's a mix of different things, but ultimately I think if you take out the bare bones and everything beneath the surface, I think it is you, who you are as a person and what you do.